Alright guys, today we're taking a look at a game on the Nintendo Switch called Clubhouse Games. Now, I've been looking forward to this game for a while. This game originally originated on the Nintendo DS and I was a big fan of the series there, and it's now being brought over to the Nintendo Switch. And they basically showcased this game a few weeks ago, showing the 51 games. Everyone was really excited for it. We're all stuck in quarantine. Well, not everyone is still stuck in quarantine, but some of us are still stuck in quarantine. It's a great game to be able to play at home, especially if you have multiple Switches in the household and stuff like that. Had online multiplayer with the games. Everything was looking really, really good at release. So now the question is, does the game actually hold up to what they actually showed in that presentation? And does it live up to what we thought? Let's go ahead and take a look and find out.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
Alright guys, here we are with Clubhouse Games, 51 Worldwide Classics. I wanted to give you guys a quick overview of, the game itself, what games are on here, and some of the systems in place. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, so here we are at the main menu of the game. You can see that there's 3 different options. We're going to start with the first one. So you can see here that there's single system that you could do, which is what we're going to do here. And you can see that you could choose 1 player or 2 players on a single system, or 3 or 4. So let's go ahead and choose for the time being 1 player. I can show you all the different games. So let's start off with showing you all the different games that are actually in here. This basically, this globe here basically is a collection of games that you sometimes unlock through these characters that gives you like a collection of 5 games that revolve around one theme. So it'd be like, board games, and it will show you like the 4 or 5 board games, and it will like give you like a collection of games to play in a certain order. So that's what that is there. And these are the games. So you got Mancala, you got Dots and Boxes, Yacht Dice, 4 in a Row, Hit and Blow, 9 Men's Morris, Hex, Checkers, Harem Barons, Gomko, that's how you pronounce that, Dominoes, Chinese Checkers, Ludo, Backgammon, Renegade, Chess, Shogi, Mini Shogi, Hanafuda, Richie Mahong, Last Card, Blackjack, Texas Hold'em, President, Sevens, Speed, Matching, War, Takara, Pig's Tails, Golf, Billiards, Bowling, Darts, Carom, Toy Tennis, Toy Soccer, Curling, Toy Boxing, Toy Baseball, Air Hockey, Slot Cars, Fishing, Battle Tanks, Team Tanks, Shooting Gallery, 6-ball puzzle, sliding puzzle, Mahjong Solitaire, Klondike Solitaire, Spider Solitaire, and Piano. So that is all the games that you get with, when you're actually playing with 1 person. Now, if we go back here to the title screen and we do 2 players, and everyone can play with the Joy-Con. Because you could do 2 players on 1 system, so you could basically set the system down right in front of you guys, kind of like a board game, and you kind of put the thing in front of you and you're both using touch. So you could do that as well, but we're going to do Joy-Cons for now. And now you can see here that some of the games will be grayed out. So Dominoes is grayed out, which makes sense because you can't obviously see each other's dominoes, so you're not going to be able to play that with 2 players in the same system. And then the card games are obviously grayed out. Texas Hold'em is grayed out. But most of the stuff is actually available with 2 players. You can see here. So these are single player games. It tells you it's single player only. And that's why these aren't available. So for the most part, 2 players on the same system, you can play almost every game except for the card games and dominoes. And that makes sense because obviously you can't see each other's cards. The game wouldn't work. Now when you go to 3 players on the same system, and we got that one connected now, so now we got 3 players in here. So now we have 3 players going on in here. And now you only get 3 games. And this is on the same system, even if you have it connected to the TV like I do right now. So this is Blackjack, Ludo, and Chinese Checkers. That is it for 3 players. So you only have 3 games for 3 players that you can play on the same system. Who knows why they decided to not have things like bowling and darts that could easily work with 3 players or 4 players and not let you play this. Does anybody know? Nobody knows why they did this. But basically, obviously, those are the only games that you can play with 3 players on the same system, or 4 players. Actually, 4 players goes down to 2 games as opposed to the 3. Now there's only 2. And that's a single system on the TV. Now, if you connect this system, if everyone brings their own Switch over, and you actually do 3 players or 4 players, then it increases to 9 games instead of 3 for the 3 or 4 players, because then dominoes is playable, and the card games are playable, because now everyone has their own Switch. You can actually play individually with your own cards in front of you and your own dominoes in front of you. So you get about 9 games when you play 3 to 4 players, and everybody has their own Switch. Now the good thing about this game and its saving grace is the fact that at least you can now play the game with only 1 copy, because everyone else can just download the demo on the shop, and that lets you connect to the person that owns the game, and you can play all 9 games with them with no issues at all. And it tells you right here, using the guest pass, have your friends download the guest pass, and then everyone downloads it, and you can play 4 players. So that's what saves the game for me as far as for 3 to 4 players, because of the fact that you only need 1 copy of the game, and you could just all play very easily, so you don't have to rely on everyone actually coming over with their Switch and actually owning the game. Because if you own it and they bring their Switches over, you guys are good to go with 9 different games. And don't think online play is any different. Online play is the exact same. If you go online and you play with 4 players or 3 players, it's the exact same 9 games that I'm just talking about. It's not the 3, of course, but it is 9. But still, no bowling, no darts, no golf. God knows why those games aren't 4 players. And it's the exact same way online as well. So yeah, that's an overview of how this works, of all the games that are available and stuff. What I do like about this is that some of the games actually go through and have more than 1 option. So there is some depth. They're not just really simple games. For example, they all have these quirky like intros and stuff that you can hear with these characters that you can kind of skip through. But most of these games let you do like different options. Like for example, Domino's has 35-point match and 61-point match, and you could do the simple rules, or you could do the 5-up rules, or you could do the playable tiles. You can do it with pass without draw, draw 1, or keep drawing. So there's different options within each game that let you kind of change things up. So, and all of these games, of course, can be played with the AI. So if you're playing these by yourself and you don't want to play online, you can still play with the AI if you want to. So you're not going to lose out as far as that goes. And here in Texas Hold'em, you can play 5 rounds or 10. And then you can unlock some certain card designs. Hanafudo has the same thing. You can actually unlock a Mario deck in this one while playing it, so you can actually theme the deck to be Mario. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, they definitely added some touches to be able to play this with AI and stuff. And some of the games are actually a lot of fun. You know, some of the games that I played with my wife on the TV that we had a lot of fun with. If we scroll through some of these, Dominoes is a really solid one. We were both using our own Switches. We got to play that, and that was really fun. One of the other games that we played is Texas Hold'em and Blackjack. Those 2 were really good. What else did we play? We did play a bowling. Bowling works really well on here. It's not exactly as good as the original Wii version, just because you know, there's no me on screen or anything like that, and the ball kind of auto throws. There's no like, you don't have to time the ball throw or anything. Darts work surprisingly well. I didn't think this game was going to work at all with the controls, but it actually does if you're using the actual Joy-Con. It doesn't work as well if you're using the touchscreen, and it's nowhere near as much fun to play if you're using the touchscreen. Same with bowling. You could use touchscreen for all of these if you want to, if you're not playing on an actual TV. But the Joy-Cons is definitely the way to go for some of these games, like bowling and darts, which makes the game much more fun to play, for sure. Tour curling worked really well. Air hockey, of course, worked really well. Team tanks and battle tanks was really fun to play that we played. The shooting gallery minigame is very similar to the one that was on Wii Play on the original Wii, so that one works well as well. And some of these actually have a lot of depth to it, like one of the Mahjong ones or the puzzle ones has 60 levels to play through. So there's definitely some depth in some of these games and some more than just, you know, a quick thing. But there's 51 different games for you guys to choose from. Most of them all have online play, except for those ones that are just single player only. But all the other ones you can play online by yourself. And like I said, you know, if you go to 3 or 4 players, then obviously you only can play 9 of these games online with other people as opposed to all of them like you could with 2 players. So there's definitely some limitations with this game that probably shouldn't be there for some of these games when it comes to 3 to 4 players that they made some strange decisions on. But there is a lot of variety in the games, as you guys saw, all the variety of games that are in here and the different games that you can actually play. And a very, very good majority of them actually play really well and are a lot of fun to play. So I'm going to continue playing this a little bit more. My wife and me are going to keep playing, with the switches. We're going to try the mosaic mode and all that kind of stuff because you can actually take 2 switches or 3 switches and actually connect them together. And you can do mosaic mode with some of the games like Team Tanks and connect them together to make an even longer playing field. So that's pretty cool, including the racetrack one where you can make the racetrack even longer as well. So we'll be doing some of that. And just playing the game a little bit longer, and then we'll come back and we'll get to the table and let me give you guys my final thoughts.
All right, guys, so that was Club Games on the Nintendo Switch. So ever since this game was announced, I was really, really excited because when I first saw the package, they were advertising 51 games. Some of the games look really interesting to me. Bowling was back on the Switch, something that everyone's been wanting for a while. They had a nice selection of card games, blackjack, poker, and stuff. They had a selection of other games as well. They had dominoes in there. They had pool. All that sorts of stuff was in there, and I was really, really excited. And I obviously, that's why I got it on day one, the day that it came out. And for the most part, I got exactly what I was hoping for, and I'm really happy with the actual game. Me and my wife played this, and what Nintendo did on this should be a de facto standard for any game that has multiplayer like this with local. Because all the other games on the Switch, when you do local multiplayer, even though technically a digital license allows you to play it on 2 Switches, so me and my wife can play a digital copy online together at the same time, just the way that works with one person using it and whatever. When you try to do the same thing and you try to do local multiplayer with 2 Switches in front of you, just doing local, it doesn't work because it knows that the license is the same and it just fails to work. In this game, they took the opposite approach and they actually let you download an app for free on the store, and you go out there, you download the app for free, and it lets you, if one person owns the copy of the game, anybody else can download the free copy and join you playing those games for free. And you even, it's a demo, so basically you can even play 4 of the games without anybody else owning the game. You can all play it together too. So that's really nice. It's kind of like the DS download play from back in the day. And really happy that they added this function on here because I did not want to buy more than 1 copy of this for sure. As somebody who plans to eventually one day own 4 Switches so we can have 4-player game Switches in the house. Knock this game of not having to actually buy it 4 times. Awesome. So I was really happy about that. The selection of the games is all really, really good. There's a lot of different variety in the games, from board games to card games to, sports games to, very different variety of games, as you guys saw there in the overview. A lot of things to choose from. When you play with 1 player, of course, everything's available to you offline if you want to play it. It fills in with the AI and stuff like that. So you can play any game you want. When you go to 2 players, basically every game is available in the game, minus the single player stuff, which makes sense. If you're, and I'm talking 2-player on the same TV, on the 2 different Switches like me and my wife had. So almost everything is available when you're doing 2 different Switches. Besides the single player stuff, almost everything is available. When you go to 3 to 4, even if every person has their own Switch, the selection is severely limited. It goes down to like 9 games per person, or 9 games that you could play. And for whatever God knows what reason, bowling and golf is not one of those games. Why they thought that bowling is not a 4-player game, who knows? It's been a 4-player game forever in all the other releases that they had. And golf obviously can handle 4 players, always has. There's a couple more in there that can handle 4 players that they're just not letting you do. But there's at least 9. So there's some card games and some stuff that you can play with 3 to 4 players, if they each have a Switch, including some of the card games and dominoes and stuff like that you can play with 4 players. So it's still fun to be had with 3 to 4 players if everyone owns their own Switch. Only need 1 copy of the game. Now, when you go 1 Switch to the TV, like me and my wife did when we played it, same deal with before. If you have 2 players, almost everything is available. But now, as opposed to everyone having their Switch, the card games are turned off that require you to have your own cards in front of you. So that obviously makes perfect sense. There's no way around that. You can't be playing dominoes if everyone's looking at their things in front of them. So obviously dominoes isn't available on the same TV if you're just playing with 1 Switch. And you obviously can't do that with the other card games as well, like poker and stuff, because you can't see each other's cards. So that makes perfect sense, and that, is the way it should be. But when you're on the single system and you go to 3 to 4, you're not even getting 9 games like I was just complaining about on the, with everyone having their own Switch. which is not great, but it's not bad. You still got 9 different games to play. And when you limit it to 3 players on the same Switch, it is 3 games only. 3 games. That's it. And when you go to 4 players, it's just 2 games. That's it. Again, why did they think that bowling was not a game that could be played with 4 players? Why is darts not a game that can be played with 4 players? Why is golf not a game that can be played with 4 players? There is no reason. Their only reason could be we just didn't have enough time to add it in there. There would be no reason why bowling can't be unless they just didn't have the development time to do it. There's no logical reason that anybody has come up with on why they didn't do it. I would say that this game is a great 2-player game, a great 2-player game, an okay 3 to 4 player game if everybody has their own Switch. It's still a fun game and I'd still recommend it. Not so great at all with 3 to 4 players if you're playing on the same TV. Reserve that for 1 or 2 players only. The saving grace to this is the fact that you can download a free copy to everyone's Switch. So if you have 4 Switch, even if your friend comes over with the Switch and they don't own the game, you're not going to have an issue because you can all still play it anyway because you have the copy of the game. So that's a saving grace because you can play those 9 games together regardless. And those 9 games are fun. So I'm hoping that they actually take this game and they actually update at least a few of the games and add 4 player in there like bowling and mini golf and darts, because it makes no sense. Are they going to do it? Who knows? These are the same people who made Mario Party on the Switch, apparently, and they obviously never updated that. So, if we're going by that logic, I'm assuming they're not going to update this one either, and they've probably moved on already, but I really hope that they do. Even if it's, obviously you can't do paid DLC just to make a game 4 players. That should have been 4 players to begin with, but if they, make that as a free update and maybe release a few games as DLC, probably not, because the title is already 51 games in there, but they should definitely make the games that are in there 4 players that deserve to be 4 players. So that is my only caveat with this game. And if you guys know that going in and you know what you're getting into, then you'll still enjoy what's here. As a 1-player game, it's fun. As a 2-player game, it's even more fun. And when you can get 4 players on their individual Switches playing, you're going to have a really good time playing these card games and these classic games that you've been playing and know about for years, but now you can play them on the Switch. So it's still a game that I recommend to own on your Switch as long as you know those caveats. And for people like me who at least have 2 Switches in the house and eventually want to get more, this is a great game to add to the rotation of games that you can play with 2 to 4 Switches standalone to play. And the games actually are, like I said, really well varied. The graphics look really, really good. And the games that we went through there each have their own way of controlling. If you play it on the Switch itself and you're playing it single player, you could use the touchscreen. If you take it out and you're doing it on the TV and you're playing darts, 2-player, or bowling and stuff, it uses the Joy-Con. And surprisingly enough, the Joy-Con for me has worked really well on almost everything I've played. The darts I even got used to. In the beginning, I was like, this feels weird. But no, it actually works really well. The bowling works really well. Everyone wants to know about bowling. It works really well. It's not as good as Wii Bowling. It takes some getting used to that. I have to hold that R button on the top of the Joy-Con and not let it go through my follow-through because I'm so used to just letting it go as the ball goes, like on the original Wii. So that's not as good, and obviously there's no me on the screen that you're actually looking at and stuff, and the ball is kind of rolled out for you. So it's definitely not as good, but it's definitely serviceable, and it's still just as fun to get that ball and roll a strike regardless. So it's still a good representation of bowling on the Switch regardless. So all the games are done really, really well. The only problem, and the graphics are done really, really well, and the graphics are done really well as well. The only caveat, like I said, is those issues I mentioned with multiplayer and stuff. Now, local multiplayer is what we just talked about. The last thing I want to talk about is online multiplayer, and online multiplayer is the exact same thing. As I mentioned, with everyone having their own Switch. So 1 player, everything's accessible. Of course, if you're playing by yourself, if you go online with 2 players, almost everything is accessible minus the single player stuff. You go with 3 to 4, and you get the 9 games that you could choose from online. So it's the exact same. Bowling doesn't automatically become 4 players online. Neither does darts. Neither do the other ones. So it's the exact same online. So that's unfortunate. Like I said, hope for an update. Maybe we'll get one from them for free. Who knows? But I'm not placing bets on it. So, guys, if you guys have anything you guys want to talk about or anything you want to mention or any questions that you guys may have, as always, leave those down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.
Tech, Gaming Techie is the Gaming Tech, Gaming Techie, Gaming Tech. Eating brekkie is the Gaming Tech, going for a recce is the Gaming Tech, Gaming Techie is the Gaming Tech, Gaming Techie.